break because they're open about it. This isn't secret funding. This is open fucking funding right there on their website. She cannot reconcile. She can't deal with this of just like, this is bad. I don't know. I can't actually explain why it's bad. All they can be like is, he's gay and you're saying we shouldn't like him? That's so homophobic.
She's not saying it directly, but that's the implication.
Distance. As a Cold War policy tool, the agency was, at times, used as front for CIA operations. Among the most infamous examples was the Office of Public Safety, a U.S.-aid police training program in the Southern Cone. In the 21st century, U.S. aid has overcome its tainted legacy and undertaken humanitarian, political, and economic work around the world. It runs democracy promotion efforts from Afghanistan to Kenya, building political leadership capacity, electoral education and registration programs, and judicial
reform. It's fucking incredible that these people managed to turn this video into like a fucking skewering of Luna, by the way, trying to frame her as like LGBT candidate, CIA? Luna always hates gay people. She thinks LGBT rights is CIA psyop. That's the kind of dumb shit they were saying. You have to be so fucking dumb to watch this and actually believe what these people are telling you about what you're seeing. I don't understand. Where do their viewers come from? They must all be fucking 11 years old. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so see, now people are popping into chat. Now people are coming in and saying, oh yeah, see, this is how it works. See, this is how imperialism works. It goes in and gets in there with the gays. Ah, come on. Come on. Like, oh,
Jesus. Say something. Say something. Try to refute anything that's being said. Say something. Say something.
Okay, let's look at these things in a bit. Let's continue.
Leader controversy. It is when U.S. aid undertakes discrete regime change operations that it runs into trouble. Indeed, its Office of Transition Initiatives now seems to be competing with, or at least complementing the CIA on high-tech propaganda and destabilization programs in Cuba, if not elsewhere as well. Since this article was written, U.S. aid has admitted to pushing for regime change in Venezuela.
Yeah, you think you're a leftist? Did you get a coronavirus check? Checkmate, you've been paid by the U.S. government. Paid shill for the...
What? You're receiving money from a U.S. cutout NGO in another country that is explicitly there for the purposes of furthering U.S. interests in that country. How is that the same thing as getting a coronavirus check? How is it the same thing as getting welfare? She's trying to compare that to like some person in the USA getting welfare? Dude, for you is like a CIA agent the same thing as like some fucking single mother who accepts money from the U.S. government to fucking feed her kids? For you, that's the same thing? This is unbelievable. This is the unfucking
If you don't trust the CIA, then who do you trust?
How could anyone say that and think it's a good fucking point? You are paid by the fucking US government to further their interests in a country on the other side of the world, a poor country that they've actually invaded and destroyed just fucking 40, 50 years ago? Wow, that's exactly the same thing as getting a coronavirus check from Joseph Biden for half of what he promised you. Same fucking thing.
The US government.
U.S. aid has embedded aid workers with military and intelligence agencies. And
look at her face. She is absolutely fucking mesmerized right now. She has no idea, absolutely no idea what to say. She's just so confused. Like, she's clearly never even thought about the fact that the USA funds fucking psyops all around the world. And her receiving this information, it's like, so this is clearly pretty true, but I need to find something to be angry about. This is just
people he hates, or maybe just to generate profitable content on the cheap if he's truly as empty on the inside as he increasingly appears. He makes leaps and bounds beyond all possible reason to cast his enemies and any strangers in their vicinity who don't sing his tune in the most despicable light possible to destroy their reputations, and for all he knows, any number of other things, proving what everyone by this point already knows, that the real driving force behind him is either greed, a desperate desire for attention, sadism, or all three. He is a callous, bottom-feeding scavenger of the lowest order, and to this threat to signal boost my tiny channel to his enemies in a vain attempt to demonstrate that I am at my worst, even an iota as repellent as himself, I reply, make my day.
Warning. The Federal Communications Commission has determined the following content to be emotionally harmful. Young children should not view this content under any circumstances, even if supervised by a parent or guardian. The views and opinions expressed, including the depictions of persons of color and members of the LGBTQA+ community, do not reflect any official policy or position of the U.S. government. This program contains graphic language
Violence.
Violence. Media. Misogyny.
I hate women.
Racism.
Goddamn Italians.
Anti-Semitism. Hate crimes.
Hey guys, welcome to the Chilean stream.
And depictions of sexual assault. Be advised.
This is just like when Harry Potter killed Voldemort. It's the exact same. Okay, before I get started, $500 donation. I'm on protest, sitting here until I get $500. No, you want to start? Pay up. Don't be a cheapskate. At least 500 buckaroonies, or nothing's happening.
Secure your zone, Shadow Team.
There's 322 people in here. Not one of them is a rich Saudi prince with $500 to donate. I find that hard to believe. When will I be invited to Saudi Arabia to do propaganda for them? I'd be fairly cheap compared to what they usually have to pay for the footballers and stuff. I don't know why they don't do it. They could get a lot of bang for their buck from me. What happened in the world? Did you guys see that Vladimir Putin shot down a plane? Classic Vlad. What will he do next? Hold on, I gotta apologize for that one. I forgot I'm in Russian. You the medic! All right, I hope I don't get beheaded. Sorry, Vlad. Forgive me. Vladimir Putin is an Islamist. That's why he'd behead me. I don't know if you guys don't know. He really likes ISIS. So hold on. There is some really important news this week. I don't know if you guys heard about it. Honestly, the most important news, not just of the week, but of the year, of the decade, and I would say possibly of the century and of the millennium. The most important news. everyone's favorite YouTuber, history YouTuber, What If Optis, came out and just like revealed his like full, complete insanity to everyone, which is something that I had suspected because the last time I like watched one of his videos on stream, last time I reacted to him, it was a video where he like talked about like alchemy and like the mystical secret knowledge of the world and stuff like that, and presented as if it was just kind of real. So like this is not that surprising, but it's still fucking wild. So the important context of this that we have to begin with, in which I believe he revealed in like a 6-hour-long series of videos that he uploaded to his channel and promptly deleted right after posting this tweet, is that basically he went through and did ayahuasca like every single like basically rich white glass bespectacled dweeb does when they're like in their mid-20s. And like every other rich white bespectacled dweeb in their mid-20s, after doing ayahuasca, he was convinced that like the Jesus and the God and like the demons and the angels that came to visit him were actually real, and he was actually really special and they had chosen to visit him specifically. You know, just like the other 100,000 white bespectacled guys whom that exact same thing happened to. And his reaction to that was to like, well, let's just read the tweet and I'll show you what his reaction was, okay? What if alt hissed? Hi everyone. I have to tell you folks something. I am quite an advanced mystic and am capable of communicating with the spirit world. I am quite an advanced mystic and am capable of communicating with the spirit world. That is an insane beginning of your fucking tweet, man. What is going on there? If you wonder why I know so much and am so successful at the age of 23, you know a lot. I mean, you have like a shitty YouTube channel where you put MS Paint shit on the screen and dumbasses watch it. I don't know about knowing so much and being so successful. This is part of the reason. I have a photographic memory. If you have a photographic memory, why do you not cite a single source ever that maybe occasionally you cite a source from 1920? And have used this to have hundreds of hours of communication with different spiritual forces. You use your photographic memory to have communications with God, the devil, Mother Nature, Hermes Trismegistus, the Anima, and many more. He has a pretty good map of the spirit world, the Lord God, and the Tree of Life, which is the spirit of consciousness connected to you by blood for evolution, are forcing me against my own consent to intervene in the game now. It's exactly what I said. Like, every fucking boring-ass, bespectacled, awkward white guy who smokes ayahuasca comes home believing that they are the ones who have spoken to God, and they are here to, like, be like the new prophet. And, you know, I guess the other 90,000 guys who the same exact thing happened to aren't just having delusions either. He's doing this because he's concerned that we'll all die in society if he does not intervene. He's young enough and he's invested. They're really worried about you. I guess that being God, the devil, Mother Nature, the Anima, Hermes, the Tree of Life. They're the ones who are worried about us, I suppose. They can see you're inside your souls and know you're all miserable. None of you get laid. I mean, speak for yourself, dude. Have babies or have any reason to live or connection to the divine. It causes them so much suffering, they send me to say everything is going to be fine, and that I'm here to be responsible for my people's survival and their soul. Which people are you talking about here? Which people? Need some clarification there. I'm here to explain how both the spirit and material worlds work to you in this stressful juncture in evolution. I serve God and the Tree of Life. I have 10 hours of video content I've just released. He really did, by the way. I watched it for like 2 minutes and then closed it. It was like him ranting in front of a camera, filmed over the course of probably weeks. 10 hours of video content I've just released explaining what exactly happened to me, why I know the world, and why modernity These are all lies. Okay. Very interesting.
Joe Farrow here in your ear. New York City's finest in waste management.
Everything your era believes are lies. 99% of human history agrees about all this stuff, and modern industrial civilization is the one exception. What stuff? Like religion? Get with the program. They all venerated the divine, and God doesn't take insults lightly. Your bloodline, God, and the spirit world all believe you are completely insane. They see Western... so he is talking about white nationalism, because now he specifies Western civilization. So now we're getting into like by the way, this is talking about white people. They see Western civilization is committing suicide and the birth rate is in complete free fall, careering towards zero. They've already won, you haven't realized yet. Isn't it interesting how every bespectacled, mediocre, middle-class white guy who does ayahuasca talks to God, and God happens to affirm everything they already believe? Isn't it crazy? This guy talked to God, the devil, the tree of life, Hermes. What else was it? He also spoke to Mother Nature, and every single one of them reaffirmed his own previous far-right political beliefs. They're all like, yep, you are completely right. Western civilization is committing suicide. The birth rate is in complete free fall. This is just like the fall of Roman Empire. It's feminism. Reminds me of I vaguely knew a guy once who went and did ayahuasca, and he was like a Trump supporter, and he came back convinced that Donald Trump was Jesus. It's every single one of these guys, every single fucking one of them is just such a fucking egotistical bastard that's they have what is essentially like a high intensity memorable dream, and they come out of it being like, oh, what a coincidence that everything that these God told me in my dream happens to affirm everything that I already believed. I have already established a unified theory of life that incorporates physics. I mean, you don't understand a lick of physics. History, every major world religion, biology. What is it with guys who know nothing and pretending to know about physics, by the way? Biology, Darwinism, Plato, and Aristotle. Watch the video if you're interested. Your ancestors were correct and you are wrong. I am a proud Christian and I was very careful. Okay, so if you're a Christian, why do you believe in Mother Nature and the tree of life? That doesn't sound very Christian. I'm very careful that nothing I say contradicts the Bible so this message can elevate Christ. If I ever do, I will immediately submit to Scripture. He's 23 years old and he's already like a cultist or cult leader perhaps. My message can be integrated with any given world religion since I stand for freedom, so that we can all experience the spirit world. How does this work? How does that not contradict the Bible? So that we can all experience the spirit world on our own terms. I've been there and I'll show you how. I'm a man who stands for other men. Only men, not women, only men. I stand so that men will not be treated as cattle. Is that what's happening? Do you think you're treated as cattle? The meaning of life is empathy. To listen to others and understand them. At the same time, to take responsibility for your own actions, to be an adult and accurately assess your environment with self-awareness, to see what you want yourself, to take your own destiny and follow the path God wants for you. This is just meaningless, drivel. This is the best thing that you got after your ayahuasca trip, dude. There is no irony or joke here. This is my best attempt at the truth. Look, I'm an empiricist where I just tell you what I read and what I hear from the divine. I'm an empiricist. Here's what I just heard from the divine. I challenge anyone to disprove me. I support civil debates to prove me wrong. Oh my God, I would love to. I want to debate what if all history. Please, I mean, it wouldn't be a debate. I just nod and agree with everything that he says. Please, what if all history? Come on, stream. We want you here desperately. We love you. We need you. If I'm wrong, I will immediately accept that. I only have 2 requests from you. The first is that you should not bother me or my people. Who is your people? Every day, I or anyone I'm close to gets personally harassed. I refuse to speak to the divine. I mean, I don't think anyone cares. God and the tree are getting really tired of our society's immaturity and will punish this kind of behavior. I really don't want to bother anyone, and I ask the same of you. This is quite stressful for me, so I'd like a moment of calm to think. The second is that all debates and conversations I have must be based in logical first principles, no ideology, hysteria, and for listeners. This is a guy who's going on a rant about how he spoke to God and the tree of life and the devil and Hermes, and then they had, like, then this must all be based in logical first principles, no ideology, no hysteria, no foolishness. This is the ultimate, like, the ultimate end of, like, the right-wing facts don't care about your feelings grift, is that it's all based on feelings for them. It's posturing about logic and, you know, I have no ideology, I'm unbiased. At the end of the day, they all believe in this sort of dumb shit. Oops. Oh, wait, that's good. You may wonder who I am to say this. I am Rudyard William Lynch. I'm a 23-year-old ethnic Briton from rural Pennsylvania. Ethnic Briton? What? Guys, I'm an ethnic Briton. That makes me more qualified. I'm an ethnic Briton. Here's my qualifications, okay, to make me the new prophet of God. I'm like the new Muhammad, the new Jesus. Qualification 1, I've hiked the Appalachian Trail. Qualification 2, I run a club for influencers in Los Angeles. Qualification 3, I run a YouTube channel with millions of viewers. Qualification 4, I've lived in half a dozen states and countries and work that many different jobs. I seriously doubt you're 23 and for like your entire adult life you've been living off YouTube. Qualification, what was that, 4 or 5? I don't remember, but another one. I've read 1,000 books and I can draw any country in any year of history from memory on the spot. I mean, enough of us have watched his videos to confirm that is certainly not the case. I also, this is the scary part, okay? I also run an organization called the Order of the Crimson Dragon. We're a human capital group which aims at making men as excellent as possible. We are here to take your son, and this is like the beginning of like the new Andrew Tate cult. We are here to take your son and make him as brave, handsome, smart, charming, skilled, and wealthy as possible. I want to help your 19-year-old son and take responsibility for him. What a line! I want to help, I'm just gonna say that completely straight-faced to the camera for meme purposes. I want to help your 19-year-old son and take full responsibility for him.
You're on defense.
Wow. Wait, I need them. I want to help. I want to take your what was it? I have to read it again. I want to help your 19-year-old son and take full responsibility for him. Jesus. Just cult announcement. I did an ayahuasca. Time to start the Order of the Crimson Dragon. I want to see, like, is they have like a website or something? Or is he just making this up on this? I feel like he's just making this up. I honestly don't believe it. I mean, no, I do believe it. And the only reason why I believe it is because it's what is called this. So when I Google this, the only thing that shows up is, hold up. Because I had to Google it in another window to make sure there's no porn. You always have to be careful. So the only results on Google for the Order of the Crimson Dragon. Neverwinter on Facebook. Someone's tweeting about this. It's from a TV show, The Wild West. Apparently this is not even original. Like, there's a ton of people have come up with this name, the Order of the Crimson Dragon, for different things like that D&D campaign or whatever. So there's nothing about his little cult there. Now, he also made like a series of videos, which honestly just seemed like a prolonged mental breakdown. They were like 10 hours long. And he shared stuff in those videos about himself that he should not have shared that I'm not going to talk about because, geez, man, like his past trauma growing up and stuff. And then it came down to him explaining how this happened, which was he did ayahuasca, basically. He did ayahuasca, like I said at the beginning. And now he thinks that he has like a unified theory of everything, and he communes with God and the devil, and the Tree of Life and Hermes, for some reason, is in there. And he's like the savior of humanity, but specifically he's talking about Western civilization, white people, obviously, because this is what he called this. That's what it's all about for him. And now he's starting a cult, which he called a human capital group. What the fuck does that mean, a human capital group? This is the shittiest cult ever, honestly. Just let to have the cult before you announce it. I somehow doubt that any of this has actually happened yet. And from what I can see, he's just like tweeting as if nothing's happening. He's like just moving on as if this never happened after deleting everything about it that he had uploaded. Hold on, let me see. No, he deleted everything, and he apparently, from what I can see, he has not tweeted since deleting everything. I sent him a message on Instagram the other day, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, right after you posted this, asking him, hey man, I really love your work. I'd love for you to hop on stream and talk to me about everything that you laid out. He has not responded. What if I'm desperate to speak to you. I'm one of your biggest fans. I need you to speak to me. Please hop on. Just message me. Reply on my Instagram. I want to invite you onto the stream and talk about the Order of the Crimson Dragon. I'm desperate. I want to know what does God look like for one? What does the devil look like? And what about the Tree of Life? How do you talk to the tree and Mother Nature? What's she look like? I need to know. I mean, he's a Briton, an ethnic Briton, and that alone, in my opinion, makes him eminently qualified to school me on the nature of the divine. I'm a 19-year-old man, and I need help. I need someone to put me on the right course. Oh, what was his name? Rudyard. That's a fucking name. Rudyard? Is that even a real... No, okay, Okay, Rudyard. There's no way that's a real name. Oh my god, Rudyard is a real name. There's other people also named Rudyard in the world. No fucking way. Well, yeah, I mean, he's an advanced mystic. What else is there to say? I'm an advanced mystic and I'm running a mystic order. No, he didn't call it a mystic order. He called it a human capital. What was it? A human capital group to help young men. He wants your 19-year-old son to take responsibility for him. Yeah. He wants your big, beautiful young boy to join his human capital group for undisclosed purposes, advanced mystic purposes. If this guy comes up to you and he says that he wants your 19-year-old son, what do you say? What if all this? Just imagine. What if all this? He walks up to your ministry and he says, hello, I'm an advanced mystic. I've communed with God, the devil, Mother Nature, Hermes, and the Tree of Life. And I'd like to take your 19-year-old son. I'd like to take your 19-year-old son and put him on the right track. I'll take full responsibility for your 19-year-old son. How do you respond? Leave a comment down below letting us know. Yeah, give me all your money. I covered the most important news of the week.
Deploying EMP.
Would I like to talk about your pet topic? No, I would not. Thank you for $5, you idiot. Anyway, be right back. I need a break after that one. I need to commune with my shaman for a second and ask him if I can get some of that. Like complaining about people receiving welfare. Same thing, exact same thing. This guy who's an employee of a fucking US-funded NGO in Vietnam trying to fucking to spread US interests in Vietnam. Now that is exactly the same as receiving welfare. That's my response. Furrow my brow a little bit. Oh my god, it's so fucking great. The average streamer is fucking incredible. How do people watch this? How? Holy fuck.
US and employees in CIA staff.
Well, Herulian Hellhound, it's not just a very nuanced point that's being made. This is an extensive claim. The claim of the video is pink-washed color revolution, and they opened by saying that the LGBTQ movements have been hijacked by the CIA. Like, that's a pretty major claim, and so far, this is like, I would say that's a dangerous claim. But so far, wait, not knowing how reactionary USAID is, I know how.
Whatever. I'll just cover her. I'm sorry. You won't be able to do it.
A reactionary USAID is. I'm not fucking defending USAID. I'm just saying that you're making a big claim by saying that the LGBTQ movements in Vietnam are funded and run by the CIA.
Literally, she's saying one single guy, one person is funded by USA. One person. She explicitly said that she is a part of and supports the LGBT movement in Vietnam, which by and large doesn't want to overthrow the government, as this fucking guy and the USA are obviously invested in doing in the long run. You lying fucking dumbass. All that you can do is just lie. Lie about what's being said. She does it the whole fucking time. Oh, she deserves more shit from now. She just fucking watch her archive every stream. It would not only be very profitable, it will just fucking ruin her entire shit.
a very dangerous conspiratorial claim, and this is not
That
backing
was
up.
never made. That was never fucking made.
USA calls these agents super enablers who can better serve U.S. national security efforts. So as you can see, USA is not running into at all. Just like many Western imperialists.
Yeah, but see, states do this all the time. I bet Vietnam does this all the time. I bet Vietnam has like the Department of Human Well-Being, which actually has like spies working for it or something.
You think Vietnam sends spies to the USA to like influence US politics to benefit Vietnamese capitalists and the global Vietnam-controlled capitalist system? What the fuck are you even talking about, you stupid motherfucker? And I mean, even if that were actually true, which obviously it's fucking not, what a ridiculous thing to say. You would be against it. You would be vehemently against it. You'd be like, oh, Vietnamese influence in American politics is so fucking unfair. But in Vietnam, it's fucking okay because all states do it. All states do it. It's actually fucking dumb. What the? Assuredly, the Vietnamese state has an intelligence agency. But if you think the fucking impoverished by the USA, by the way, by the destructive Vietnamese genocide they committed against Vietnam, if you think like a Vietnamese intelligence agency is the same fucking thing as fucking American efforts to like fund fucking fake NGOs in Vietnam and all around the world. You have another fucking thing coming. That's unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable thing for me. One of the main activities of the intelligence agencies in 4 countries, by the way, is actually to try and stop US operations against them. So this person is fucking unbelievable.
Fucking every state on the planet does this. They name their shit like lofty goals. Like they'll name it like the agency for protecting children. And then
where's the Vietnamese USAID or the Vietnamese NED? Where? Where are the Vietnamese NGOs in the USA that are concerned with human rights violations? Where?
like, oh, they actually go and like kidnap children, but they're protecting them. You see, like, yeah, Department of Love. It doesn't matter. States do this all the time. It's not just the U.S. Every single fucking state does this.
Holy shit. Okay. 30 seconds more. 30 seconds more.
In fact, we know for a fact that Vietnam does this because they name their shit like they have a philosophy like a Ho Chi Minh thought that is a state-endorsed philosophy.
We know for a fact that Vietnam does this, international propaganda, making fake NGOs in other countries and funding them openly to try and push propaganda that you believe to be advantageous for your geopolitical goals, which are the complete destructive neoliberalization of Vietnam and the destruction of anything resemble whatever there still might be of its socialist system. Apparently Vietnam does that too. Every state does that. Vietnam does it too. No, it doesn't. It fucking doesn't. Holy shit, she's so fucking stupid.
Well, no, I'm not saying that's an argument against her position. I'm just...
When we found out he is working for USA.
Okay, so he wasn't working for USA. Let's be clear
He wasn't working for USA. He was just working for a USA-funded organization. A USA-funded NGO, okay? Very different. Very different, my friends, okay? That death squad, that CIA-funded death squad, they weren't working for the CIA. They were just working for a death squad funded by the CIA. Destroy.
Any examples of this? This is my second
holy
channel.
shit.
that he was working for an organization that has taken money from it. We don't have any evidence. Well, the evidence has not yet been provided. How much? Secondly,
She threw it on the screen. $230,000 US.
Like
remember what we just read about how people feel about gay people in Vietnam. Do you think there might be other reasons why many Vietnamese people would not have liked the gay guy when somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to...
You think there is a local Vietnamese gay rights movement? Luna Oi is a fucking like loner box, basically making excuses for Israel and like emotional excuses for Israel. So you could also call this like the appeal to Jewishness fallacy, where the entire argument is actually you're wrong because they're Jewish. You know, there's something special about Jews that makes what Israel does more permissible, and if you don't take that into account, you are an anti-Semite. Like settler colonialism, genocide, ethnic cleansing, what have you. That might be wrong under normal circumstances, but you completely fail to take into like account the like innate mystical nature of Jewish people. Ergo, you are wrong. Ergo, you are anti-Semitic. So, Lunabox's fans thought this 1 minute long clip was so awesome that they edited it together with music, like inspirational music and like archival footage and stuff like that, and like made an inspiring like pro-Israel propaganda video out of it. So let's actually watch this clip, and we're going to analyze analyze the argument. First we'll deal with the argument on like the material facts that he brings up. The most important thing is always, if the justification is actually true, are the things that he is bringing up actually true? Did it actually happen in the way that he's saying? And then we move on to like, okay, does this logic make any sense? And then we'll test this argument and see how much it actually holds up, or if it's just like a Gish Gallop appeal to Jewishness fallacy, as I just said. Basically just arguing that Jews have some sort of innately oppressed essence that permeates through space and time, and ergo we must like all come together to allow them to do basically whatever they want to Palestinians. Let's watch.
Israel are refugees. Majority of people who live in Israel are refugees from the Arab and Muslim world. The rest of them are largely people who came from the Holocaust, or from 1300 pogroms in Russia, or from anti-Semitism rising in the 20s and 30s. That's why they're there. And you are treating them like they are just some imperial back colony like French Algeria or South Africa or something else. And you think that these people are ever going to be dislodged. There's two things that are never going to happen in that country, okay? One is they're not going to accept being a minority. Never. Not the way that Jews have been treated in the Middle East as minorities by every other Arab Muslim country. They're also never going to leave because they have nowhere else to go. As long as you ignore the real reality of the lived experience of Jews that created Zionism, as long as you keep treating a genuine movement of people who were refugees, who had nowhere else to go in the world, going to a place and deciding, this is our home. If this is not our home, we die. And you don't acknowledge that because you just think it's, oh, white Europeans coming with the British and the American. Then yes, you're anti-Semitic because your entire analysis of Israel is completely ignorant of the real experience of Jews that resulted in them going to Palestine.
It's like literally, it's lived experience. You can't call them settlers or colonial because it's lived experience and they're Jewish. So let's first analyze the facts here. First claim.
The majority of people who live in Israel are refugees from the Arab and Muslim world. The rest of them are largely people who came from the Holocaust, or from 1300 pogroms in Russia, or from anti-Semitism rising in the 20s and 30s.
Okay, let's analyze this claim first. Are the majority of people in Israel refugees? No. The majority of people in Israel are not refugees. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You are not a refugee because your great-grandpa was. I think that is pretty clear, right? You know who are actually refugees? Palestinians. Palestinians are refugees. You know why? Because Israelis kicked them out and made them so. Israelis are not refugees. A refugee is someone who, is kicked out of a place, wants to return but cannot for reasons beyond their control. Or someone who is kept from returning, whatever. The people, are not a refugee because someone, according to Loner Box here, because 80 years ago, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, your grandpa was kicked out of somewhere. Let's get that off the table first. You are not a perennial refugee forever. Two, the facts he lays it out is simply incorrect. I went over this in my video on the supposed mass expulsions of Jews from the Arab world on my main channel. This one right here. Key facts from that is, one, massive portions of the Jews who left the so-called Arab world did so voluntarily because they wanted to go to, it's a pretty good fucking deal to go to Palestine and take someone else's house, isn't it? Two, because Israel pressured the governments there to basically make deals with them to force the Jews of their country out. And then three, there was a portion that were actually expelled. And then also on top of that, you also have to acknowledge that 20 years later in the 70s, in some cases less than 20 years later, in some cases 10 years later, those countries came together as a bloc to offer return to all of those Jews who had left or been expelled. All of them. So when you offered return, you were not a refugee. Quite simple. Obviously, they did not take them up on this because this whole point is a red herring. It's an attempt to draw a false equivalence between the Palestinian refugee problem, which is an actually existing real refugee problem, and the Jewish refugee problem, which doesn't exist. That name, I just made that term up because it doesn't exist.
Let's go make hay, sunshine.
2, this idea that there is like some sort of perennial Jewish terror and Jews cannot live anywhere as a minority is disproven by the fact that Israel is factually a less safe place to live in than fucking New York City or Buenos Aires or any other place with a sizable, even minority Jewish community. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what's violent? Colonialism. You know what's violent? You know what's risky? Taking someone else's house and then keeping them locked up 50 kilometers away from you, or 5 kilometers away from you, or 500 meters away from you in some situations. That is so much more dangerous than being a Jew in New York. The average Jew in New York is a fucking skinny twink whose biggest problem is that once they got his order wrong at Starbucks. Give us a fucking break.
They kicked off without us? Stop
It's
that
just simply
package,
not
asshat.
true. Next, let's analyze that refugee claim there. So, wait, I'll let him continue. I already showed the full video, but I want him to continue because he gets to the point of bringing it up. Basically, it was to say that Jews cannot be settler colonists.
That's why they're there. And you are treating them like they are just some imperial back colony like French Algeria or South Africa or something else. And you think that these people are ever going to be dislodged.
There you go. It's anti-Semitic to treat them as if they are just like a colony or like a proxy state of the US or whatever. Because they're Jewish, I guess. Another thing on that refugee point, by the way, is refugees move somewhere not because they want to take that place from the people who are there. Refugees move somewhere to seek refuge among the pre-existing population. You're not a refugee when you move straight into someone else's house. You're not a refugee when you displace someone else. You're not a refugee when you not live alongside the previous society but destroy it. That is not what a refugee is. A refugee is someone seeking refuge among the previous population. So to call these people refugees because they went to Israel, went to a transit camp, and then moved straight into a Palestinian house, got a gun, and started massacring Gazans trying to cross the border to return to their home they were ethnically cleansed to, that those people are now living in. To call those people refugees is fucking insane. Fucking absolutely insane. If you want to know who are actually refugees today, recognized refugees, internationally recognized refugees under the same system of international law that you constantly defer to. Palestinians. Not Israelis, Palestinians. 9.1 million displaced Palestinians worldwide. 8.36 million refugees in total. So let's pursue this logic. Let's twist this logic around the other way. Let's flip it. And let's see if it still works. Let's see if he would agree with this statement. Palestinians, given that they are factually refugees, way more than anyone in Israel, given they are factually refugees, does that mean that they cannot do atrocities, they cannot do bad things, that they are specially authorized to do bad things? That if they were to, say, do colonialism, do settler colonialism, we would have to, like, consider their unique ethnic situation? Or we would be anti-Palestinianist? Do they have, like, a uniquely permissible situation due to their refugee status, due to being ethnically cleansed, genocided, and massacred? Does that afford them a special right to do things that would otherwise be impermissible? Does he think that? No, he doesn't. So we need to then think about the logic here. If he thinks that Jews had a special right to do colonialism because he justifies it there with this idea that their grandparents, their great-grandparents were refugees, which, as I just went over, is simply not true, but we can nonetheless pretend that it's true. What is it exactly then that makes them so special? If he thinks that logic applies to Jews because 70, 80 years ago, according to him, all the Jews in the world were refugees, how does this not apply to Palestinians, given that today, right now, currently, almost all Palestinians in the world are refugees? The logic falls over immediately when you compare it to an actual contemporary, real, today, actionable example. So now we must ask a follow-up question. Why is there a distinction then? Where does this distinction come from? Why do Jews get to do settler colonialism and it's wrong to call them a colony, it's wrong to call them settlers, it's wrong to call their country a proxy state of Western powers? Why is it that you can't say that about them? Yet Lonerbox would certainly never afford that sort of leeway to Palestinians. He would never, ever make this sort of emotional argument for Palestinians if they were doing the same sort of thing. You can test this. He's against any sort of Palestinian political violence. There is not a single time that Palestinians have taken up arms against their oppressors that he was not against. He even has like an extensive video series where he debunks the Great March of Return and tries to justify the Israeli sniping kids during that. So quite clearly, it's not actually on the material basis here. It's not on the merit of the facts that he believes this. So why does he believe it? Jewish exceptionalism, the appeal to Jewishness fallacy, this idea of like innate Jewish oppression that is not actually grounded in reality, clearly. Because if you look at reality, if you are Jewish today, what are you most likely to be? 99.9%. What are you most likely to be? One, like a firmly middle-class person in a Western country, functionally white in every respect. Two, an Israeli living on stolen land, with people being massacred at most 50 kilometers away in a concentration camp for your benefits. So they have to appeal to like this sort of an idea of like an essentially racial, like magical Jewish essence. It's like the reverse Nazi logic. The Nazi logic was that Jews, regardless of how materially it makes no sense to say so, regardless of how much this narrative is contradicted by the actual facts on the ground, Jews have like some sort of innate essence within them that makes them like innately subversive, extremely powerful. You know, like it doesn't actually matter that most of the Jews in Europe at the time were like living in the Pale of Settlement and relatively poor. Doesn't matter. What actually matters is this argument to like them having like some sort of magical power, mind control powers that makes them like innate oppressors somehow, even when the actual circumstance makes it clear that's impossible. Then we fast forward to today, and this sort of argument made here by the Jewish exceptionalists, those who make this ridiculous emotional argument that's basically just an appeal to Jewishness as some sort of magical thing. Their argument accepts the premise that there's some sort of magical thing about Jews. Accepts this premise that like a Jew is not like a member of like a made-up arbitrary ethnic group created by human beings, like a social construct, but rather someone imbued with some sort of innate magical essence that makes them perennially always oppressed, no matter what. And so that's the reverse logic. The Nazis were like, these people have like an innate essence that makes them oppress others, that makes them oppress Germans in particular. The Jewish exceptionalists today, who use this reverse logic to justify Israel, what they believe is basically Jews have like some sort of essential magical essence that makes them sort of innately oppressed and always in peril. It's the opposite. And then the solution to that is the opposite as well. The Nazis, they need to be killed because they're innate oppressors, while the Jewish exceptionalists believe Sorry, I should rephrase that because I know that's better. The Nazis believe that they need to be killed because they are innate oppressors, while the Jewish exceptionalists believe that because Jews are innately always magically oppressed, they need to be given special permission to kill others. That would never be afforded to anyone else, no matter what. No matter how similar the circumstances, as I just went over with the Palestinian refugee example, which Lonafox obviously would never accept as an excuse for Palestinians being allowed to do things that are normally impermissible. So when you put it on its head, the only explanation for this, when you actually assess this argument on the basis of the facts, on its logic, on the potential contradictions, and like trying to apply it to other circumstances, it falls over immediately. So the only logical step that we can take then is that it's a special argument that's only for Jews. And that's the logic at play when you boil it down to what it actually is. Here's the thing, though. You aren't innately oppressed because you're Jewish. If you want to make an argument for, like, and another point of this, by the way, is, like, it's not just arguing that Jews are oppressed. It's also elevating anti-Semitism above all other sorts of racism or discrimination. Everything else. Like, you know, you could get away with saying the N-word once, but you could not get away with, like, being anti-Semitic. Why is that? It's a justification for Israel, obviously. All of it is just a racket that exists to justify Israel. But the logic is that he's like, basically, that you should not actually look at the material circumstances today. You shouldn't look at how power has shifted. You shouldn't look at the fact. Actually, these people would never, like, people, by the way, abide by this. People fall into this all the time. Well-meaning people. Most people accept this logic. Most people don't contest it at all. Most people don't respond to it on a material basis, on the basis of the facts. When someone's like, what, you're anti-Semitic? Don't you know that Jews are all refugees, Jews are all innately oppressed, blah, blah, blah. Most people will be like, no, I'm not anti-Semitic. Of course anti-Semitism is as bad as you're saying, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, though, it's not. It's not. It's not. Look at the actual material circumstances today. This is not 1940 Europe. This is 2024. Power has shifted. Things have changed. The same sort of argument, like, could be applied to, say, Liberia. Liberia was founded by American slaves. And guess what? They still did. Does fleeing slavery mean that they had, like, special permission to create, like, a 200-year-long oligarchy with themselves at the top and basically do the same thing that was done to Native American people who were already there when they got there? Dark. And all this is also ignoring the fact that Zionism was not founded by oppressed Jews. Zionism was founded by upper middle class, petite bourgeois, or bourgeois people from Europe. So he said right there, like, Zionism was founded by oppressed people. Like, there's no actual analysis of material circumstances. It's this idea of innate Jewish oppression. Here, let me play that part.
Going to happen. Lived experience of country. They're also
lived experience. Whenever someone says lived experience, it is just discarded immediately. It is a rank, worthless appeal to emotion.
Muslim country. They're also never going to leave because they have. As long as you keep treating a Jews that create experience of real reality and the lived experience of Jews that created Zionism, as long as you keep treating a genuine movement of people who were refugees.
A genuine refugee is people who created Zionism. Zionism was not created by refugees. Zionism was not created by oppressed people. Political Zionism, as we know it, was created by Theodor Herzl, who was an upper middle class, petite bourgeois guy. And the movement that he founded was full of fucking rich people, obviously. How do you think they got the money to do what they did? They founded a bunch of joint stock companies funded with a ton of donations by people interested in the project. The founder of the actual leader of the foundation of the State of Israel, the genocide, the Nakba, David Ben-Gurion, he famously acknowledged that, he'd never really meaningfully experienced anti-Semitism before. For him, this was like a ethno-nationalist project, not some campaign to save the refugees or whatever. Just straight up falsehood. And now I'd like to address this next part of this argument where he's like, you have to accept it because this is what they want. He doesn't actually examine what they want, if it would be permissible in any other circumstance. He just says this is what they want, so you must accept it.
As minorities by every other Arab except being a minority. And you think that these people are ever going to be dislodged. There's two things that are never going to happen in that country, okay? One is they're not going to accept being a minority. Never. Not.
Okay. So one, Palestinians need to accommodate the fact that Israeli Jews will not accept being a minority. Why? Because they're Jewish. The appeal to Jewishness fallacy. They have a special magical essence that means that they should be able to aspire for ethnic supremacy, ethnic dominance, demographic dominance that no one else in any other circumstance it would be acceptable for them to aspire for. That's the entire argument. We just need to, we can't say, well, what they want is unacceptable and we should fight against that. No, 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 no. You can't say that, even though that would be correct in any other circumstance of any other group, because that would be anti-Semitic. They are special. They must have ethnic dominance always. They must have a demographic majority over the Palestinians who they dispossessed.
The way that Jews have been treated in the Middle East as minorities by every other Arab Muslim country. They're also never...
Factually incorrect. The worst treatment of Jews in Muslim countries before the establishment of Israel, before Zionism fucked everything up, were treated the same as anyone else of any other Abrahamic religion. Obviously, they were treated the same as Christians, basically. There was some sort of special anti-Semitism in the Muslim world like there was in the European world. In fact, against anti-Semitic campaigns in Europe, whenever Jews fled those, they went to the Muslim countries, obviously, because it was way better to live in a country that just treated you as someone, they were disadvantaged for not being Muslim, not for specifically being Jewish. There's a difference between those things. In Europe, Jews were specifically targeted for being Jews, not just for not being Christian. Distinctions made between them and others on the basis of them being Jewish specifically. So obviously it's not the same thing. And he's appealing, one thing that these people like to do, Lonabox does it all the time, they want to reframe, they want to blame European anti-Semitism, which was unique to Europe up until the early 20th century, when in response to Zionism was adopted by limited parts of the Arab world. They want to blame that on Arabs. They want to blame that on Muslims. Simply not true. There was religious discrimination in Muslim countries, but it was on the basis of not being Muslim, not specifically being Jewish. Anti-Semitism was a specifically European construct.